been more than 20 years since techniques for harvesting sugar beets have changed very much. But American Crystal Sugar thinks even minor adjustments could increase growers' returns by millions of dollars every year. That's what they set out to prove on this test plot near the American Crystal Sugar plant in East Grand Forks. Company officials wanted to compare sugar beet yields and quality by operating a defoliator at different speeds and a harvester at different speeds and depth settings. Most growers know the importance of getting their crop harvested as quickly as possible, but test results of the Ag 2000 harvest demonstration proves the speed at which fields are defoliated and harvested can greatly affect yields and quality. First, rotobeaters were run through the field at 2 miles an hour. Next, they did several rows at 4 miles an hour. And finally, a run of 6 miles an hour. Each of the speeds was duplicated 4 times in the field, and samples were hand harvested and analyzed in the quality lab. The results were astonishing. At 2 miles an hour, hand-harvested rotobeater trials came in at 214 pounds of recoverable sugar for every ton. Samples were also collected at the pilers for analysis. The rows topped at 4 miles an hour dropped to 207 pounds of recoverable sugar, and at 6 miles an hour the total was 203 pounds. The results for the piler samples were almost identical to the hand-harvested samples. At 2 miles an hour, the recoverable sugar was 211 pounds a ton. At 4 miles an hour, the number dropped to 204 pounds, and going even faster dropped the figure even further. Rows that were defoliated at 6 miles an hour only produced 201 pounds of recoverable sugar for every ton harvested. It's obvious to see that rotobeating at higher speeds leaves more petioles and decreases the recoverable sugar in the beet. The difference between rotobeating at 2 miles an hour and 4 miles an hour is 7 pounds of recoverable sugar a ton. That adds up to a total loss of more than $14 million for the sugar beet crop in the Red River Valley. The difference between 2 miles an hour and 6 miles an hour is more than $20 million. Similar losses were found when comparing the speed and depth of harvester operations. The Ag 2000 harvest loss demonstration ran a harvester at both 4 miles an hour and 6 miles an hour. Both speeds were also tested for lifting beets with shallow and deep settings. We might mention the day the testing was underway, harvesting conditions were ideal and weather did not play a part. The test showed the tear, or the dirt left on the beets after going over screens on a piler, was best when the harvester was running at 4 miles an hour and digging deep. The tear was only slightly higher when digging shallow and running at either 4 or 6 miles an hour. But considerably more dirt was left on the beets when the harvester was traveling 6 miles an hour and digging deep. In fact, the difference between the best and worst conditions is 0.8%, which on an 8 million ton crop adds up to 64,000 tons of dirt. That contributes to the cost of transporting and processing, as well as presenting environmental problems. A closer inspection of the different speeds shows how much money can be lost to improper harvesting operations. At 4 miles an hour and digging shallow, growers will lose 1.1 tons an acre. Increasing the speed to 6 miles an hour jumps the loss to 1.7 tons an acre. At deeper harvesting depth, the losses are less than the speedy shallow harvesting, but more than shallow harvesting at 4 miles an hour. Digging deep and running at 4 miles an hour, the harvest loss is 1.2 tons an acre, and at 6 miles an hour, it's 1.3 tons an acre. An improper adjustment on a harvester can decrease the yield by at least half a ton an acre.
6 mile an hour? No, wait.
6 mile an hour, yeah.
Shallow and 6 mile an hour. So we almost doubled the loss.
Since digging deeper is directly responsible for higher truck tear numbers, Harvester settings deeper than necessary can increase the amount of dirt hauled back by the grower by as much as 50%. Running at 6 miles an hour and digging deep, this grower hauled 345 pounds of dirt. At 4 miles an hour and digging deep, the tear dirt drops to 305 pounds. The best results for reducing dirt were found at 6 miles an hour and digging shallow. 190 pounds of dirt had to be hauled. At 4 miles an hour, the results were just as good. The results of this trial shows the grower owners could benefit if harvesting guidelines were followed. The recommendations from American Crystal Sugar Company would be to make sure growers reduce harvester speeds to 4 miles an hour or less, and reduce defoliator speeds to 3 miles an hour or less. Similar studies performed in 1991 and 1992 paralleled what was found with these studies on the speed and depth of harvesting sugar beets in the Red River Valley. American Crystal Sugar Company studies have shown much higher storage losses from petioles left on beets. American Crystal Sugar Company plans to conduct tests similar to these studies in other factory districts in the future.